Thing that we've got going at the federal level, again, which ties us all together. Right when I started with IDDA, about 2001, I should say, there was a U.S. Supreme Court decision that came out that was known as the SWANK case. SWANK stands for Solid Waste Authority of Northern Cook County. So it was a case out of Illinois, and the bottom line of the case was, does EPA have the jurisdiction to regulate wetlands? SWANK had the Solid Waste Authority had a wetland on its property. EPA was trying to regulate it. The authority said that EPA didn't have the ability. EPA said it did. The case kicked its way through the courts and eventually ended up in the U.S. Supreme Court. The basis on which EPA claimed jurisdiction, and this was too good to make up, was the fact that ducks use the wetland. And ducks are a commercial commodity because they're hunted, and ducks can fly across state lines, so therefore you have an issue of interstate commerce. And that is the basis. Interstate commerce was the basis on which EPA was regulating the wetland. What the U.S. Supreme Court said was that no, EPA did not have jurisdiction. What the court said was that EPA only has jurisdiction to regulate those areas specifically over which it has been given regulatory authority.
Which is moving water?
Navigable water.
Navigable.
So the court said unless Congress told you, you can, specifically in writing, you can't. So that happened about 9 years ago. So EPA was slapped down in terms of the regulation. What we're seeing now is the legislation has been proposed in the Congress. As a matter of fact, it's passed out of committees on both sides, in both the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, which would change the definition of how waters are regulated to put EPA back in jurisdiction. And again, the key word is right now, it says that EPA has the ability to regulate navigable waters. Navigable defined different ways, but navigable, I think you understand, you put a boat in it, you can move the boat up and down. It's water that is there all the time. What the legislation would do would be to remove the word navigable from the law. So it would say that EPA has the ability to regulate all waters of the United States. That would include any kind of drainage ditch, drainage structure, farm pond, water that exists in the rainy season but doesn't exist in the dry season, etc., etc. The potential impact of that, this would be a Clean Water Act issue. Clean Water Act is administered at the state level by the Department of Natural Resources. What that could mean is that anytime you wanted to do any kind of drainage activity in your drainage districts in terms of a clean out, in terms of improvement, anything like that, you would have to go to DNR to get a permit from them to allow you to do that. That's not a direction we want to go. So, again, this legislation is passed by committees on both sides. It's eligible for floor debate at any time. We do have some very powerful allies that have lined up against the legislation. The National Association of Counties is on record opposed to the legislation. National Association of County Engineers is on record as in opposition. National Farm Bureau Federation is on record in opposition. So we've got a lot of very well-connected groups.
What's the position of both our senators?
From what I've been told, Senator Grassley has indicated support for our position, and Senator Harkin has not indicated one way or the other yet. And he's sort of considered undecided at this point. So we've been working with Senator staff, try and firm him up, but again, I have not heard directly if he's made a decision. So we're watching that.